I do. I have my misgivings on that. I do. I promise you my thoughts on the Richmond rally. Now, this is the author that he promised to give time to. I promise you my thoughts on the rally. Now, this is the historian, and they are first off, second, third, both, in my estimation, patriots. So, Napoleon, that the physical side of this war, another serious lack that begs to be addressed is communications. Logistics and support are evidently lacking. What am I qualified to talk about is history. It had, okay, the communications went out by this guy right here.
We're almost set up here. We're just getting the camera going.
No problem. Can you hear me okay?
Oh, yes. Yeah, we got you.
Good.
Yep. Renee, are we rolling? We're good? Thank you. All right. We're good? All righty. I like your kitchen. It's beautiful.
Thank you. That's my interview room when I'm not, when I'm on the road.
Hey, it's a nice backdrop.
Thank
We'll
you.
take it. Okay, say and spell your name for me so we have it on camera.
It's Ed Levine, Levine. I'm older than Adam Levine, and I had it first. And grapes grow on vines, not vines. So there you go.
You know, it's funny. My brother's best friend growing up was Jamie Levine, and then Adam Levine came about. I'm like, oh, he's saying his name wrong. That's not how you say it.
Ed, I agree.
All right. And what's your title?
I'm an executive member at the VCDL, the Virginia Citizens Defense League.
Okay. So briefly tell me a little bit about the goals for this rally on Monday and what you anticipate seeing happen there.
Well, for the last 20 years, for me, I've been going to VCDL's Lobby Day, which we choose on Martin Luther King Day because a lot of our members are off and don't work and don't have to burn a vacation day. And the day is really about going into the building, talking to your lawmakers and telling them what laws you like and what laws you don't like, just as a constituent. Then after you do that, we generally go outside and hold a rally. Well, this rally normally brings 800 to 1,500 people. But because of the proposed very draconian laws this year, and for the past year or so, it's really gotten national attention where people don't like what's going on. And so that changed our rally from maybe 1,500 people to we're hearing numbers as high as 100,000.
Oh, wow. Oh, my gosh. Do you think what you've seen on Facebook, the emails you've been receiving, the phone calls, does that back up some of those estimates, you think?
Oh, it absolutely does. We have people from all over the country. In fact, I don't know if you pull up on our Facebook page or our group or our website, vcdl.org, there is a map that shows Virginia almost all green. And those are sanctuary counties and cities, whereas the boards of those places and the people, I mean, we've had people come out in the thousands to these meetings saying, you know, they're sheriffs, they're saying we're not going to enforce any unconstitutional laws. And thereby, when the Democrats did this about immigration, they're like, you know, we're creating all these sanctuary cities for immigrants. And they're like, so that's going to stand and that will hold up in the court of law. But if you guys tried it for Second Amendment, it doesn't count for that. So it's kind of a double-edged sword there.
So do you have any concerns about safety at this event? Obviously, one can understand why you would want to bear arms at an event that is all about the right to bear arms. However, with it growing to this size, with some safety concerns about outside parties possibly coming in, do you have concerns about safety at the event?
Well, no, whether the event is 500 people or 10,000 people or 100,000 people, we always have concerns. I'm in daily contact with the police, back and forth, as is Philip Van Cleve, who is our president, and we're working with Capitol Police, Richmond Police, Virginia State Police, and they are our security forces. Obviously, a lot of people will be recording with their own personal cameras, and we want, if there's any issues, we want someone to immediately notify the police and let them handle it. We've had out-of-state militias tell us, we'll come down and we'll be your security, and we're like, no, we want our police to handle our security. You're certainly welcome to come down and stand with us in support of our rights.
Interesting. So you would agree with some of these lawmakers who've said that, they believe some of these out-of-state groups do intend to come out?
Oh, they absolutely are. We've heard from many of them.
Okay. Talk to me a little bit about some of the appeals going through the court process. We had the appeal that, Ralph Northam's ban on guns at this event. They upheld it yesterday. Now it has reached the state Supreme Court, but you guys are fighting this pretty vigorously. Talk to me about your arguments here.
I can't, because it is actual legal proceeding. I can't really talk to too much besides what you already know, and that is, we believe that the bans that have been in place were done so not by the law, and therefore we did what we should do, along with Gun Owners of America, who is our partner in this, and said, you can't do what you just did legally, and so we're just going to work that through the court system. But we obviously wouldn't file it and do it if we didn't believe that it were the truth.
Is this about sending a message, or is this about actually really wanting to have guns at this event?
Well, we want to have guns wherever the bad guys have guns, and bad guys have guns everywhere. First of all, the Second Amendment, people like, I have a gun because I want it for self-defense. That's the frosting on the cake. The Second Amendment is really to defend yourself against a tyrannical government, and as we see, it looks like our government is heading down that road. Just even when they changed the rule to ban guns in the General Assembly building, we've been going there for 20 years with no problem at all whatsoever. In fact, I think the only discharge that ever happened was a lawmaker when they was putting away their own gun. But it's like the Rules Committee, I don't know if you are aware of this or your viewers are, but the Rules Committee kind of came up in the middle of the evening, or 7 o'clock at night, called together the meeting. They didn't have an agenda, so lawmakers were surprised in the morning as to what the meeting was about. The Democratic majority said, we're going to not allow guns this time because of, direction from the Capitol Police. And of course, Colonel Pike of the Capitol Police is like, wait a second, that was not our recommendation. We will simply tell you how to implement the laws, but it was not our suggestion that you guys take this action.
God forbid, what if something does happen? Obviously, in Charlottesville 3 years ago, there was a terrible outcome there. This rally is expected to be incredibly large. How are you guys going to react if something does happen? I
think Charlottesville was a little bit different. The law enforcement was told, everybody kind of left town, all the legislators left town, lawmakers were told to stand down and kind of let the people voice what they're doing and just stand down. That's not going to happen this time. We have Virginia State Police, Capitol Police, Richmond Police. They're all combined in the same communications. We have people, there's going to be federal unmarked and marked people throughout the crowds and whatever. We really want this a safe event, and we want peaceful rallies. We want everyone to stand together and submit ideas. We are not about any type of violence, any behavior, any type of that. We're not for that at all.
Great. I think that's all I need from you.
Clarify one thing. So make sure the ban is just on the grounds. It's not part of your event. You're still allowed to legally carry at your event. Am I correct?
Well, good question. Things have changed. So they changed the rules in the building where we can't carry in the building. Then the other day, the governor declared a state of emergency, and they put up fencing around most of the grounds. So to get in the grounds, you have to be unarmed. So I would imagine a lot of people aren't going to even go in the fenced-in area for a number of reasons. They want to make a statement that they're not going to disarm for the governor. They don't want to go into a place where they're corralled and can't go about freely or come to and from. And our rally's at the top of the steps. So hopefully with the PA system, we'll be able to hear even if you're standing outside. Now that was another big problem is the government was going to give us a PA system that was good enough for maybe 100 people, like in a conference room with one of those podium PAs. We volunteered and said, we'll pay for it and get a better PA system, and we fought them tooth and nail on that. And we were wondering, why do citizens that want to have an event have to beg for a PA system, but when the governor wants to have an event and announce something, he's got bleachers built and concert-style PAs. It's kind of like what's good for them is also good for us, but not in their case.
One other question I wanted to ask. Have you
Sure.
heard any rumblings about counter-protesters at the event?
Anytime we have any type of event, I mean, no matter what the social issue is, there's always people that don't agree with you. And we welcome that as long as it's done peacefully. Because sometimes when you're communicating with the other side, you get to learn a little bit more about each other and try and find some common ground as to how you can get along. But as far as giving up on gun rights, every time the Democrats I shouldn't say Democrats, we're nonpartisan. A lot of Democrats own guns too. In fact, we encourage those Democrats that have guns to talk to their lawmakers, because lawmakers obviously think that it's all just Republicans. But to get back to your question, we want the protesters there as well, as long as they protest peacefully, because we believe in the First Amendment as well as the Second Amendment.
All right, perfect. Okay, well, thanks again. We sure appreciate it, and hopefully everything will go smoothly on Monday.
Thank you, appreciate it.
All right, take care. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
All right.
Yes.
There you have it, right there from the horse's mouth. He bragged to Fox News that through the sheriff's department they have comms. The question is, did they really have comms or not? Well, I don't know the intel on that, nor I care to know, because my takeaway from what I saw was that the state troopers did not break ranks. So the fact that the state troopers did not break ranks tells me that they ain't with the counties. So if they're not with the counties, there's the war. We're right back to the rum running days, except for instead of it being a constitutional issue and a tax issue, it's right back to we say so because we're federal, because the governor is running his state police against all the counties. The counties didn't want to go along with rum running up and down 81. And fuck no. I mean, they didn't want to go with the idea that you were going to come in there and tell them when they can't make liquor and couldn't make liquor. You know, no. They didn't go along with that. So they weren't going along with the IRS and the new gun laws. So in order to enforce them, in the early 1930s, state police was created. And state police is 100% federally integrated. And when I say federally integrated, I'm talking Fusion Center on up. Counties don't necessarily choose to be a Fusion Center, but Virginia's 25 now. Their communications is 25. Communications 25. And everybody integrated to it. They created the trunk system, and everybody's scanners became, they're gathering dust. Now, I don't know why this guy says here, logistics and support are evidently lacking. I do not know that what arrangements have been made in advance, but it would not have been difficult, given the manpower available on site, to have contingency plan for medical aid, evac, and reinforcement with the American equivalent of technicals. The trucks blocking the roads leading to the Capitol could easily have been moved by groups of people by hand if needs be, and route security ensured by details assigned to specific intersections, as well as spotter teams ready to interdict a tyrannical response team. The state troopers were integrated all through Richmond. Not only did they do the show of force where they stood outside the fence prior to the few congressmen and senators who came out to the steps and smiled. They're lucky that Northam didn't kill them, because it could have happened. That could have been the false flag right there. But anyway, much remains to be done on the planning and training side of things for VCDL. All right, VCDL is a coffee clutch with guns, and they are a mainstay at every anytime an outdoor event at any shows that cater to an outdoor industry, VCDL is there. They are integrated with all the local retirees, police, and elected sheriffs and what have you. They're integrated. Their deputies are in there. So, and VCDL didn't have to act until the communists ran their pie hole. So this historian doesn't understand that these people they've resisted integration with militia ideas. Ever since they were created, I have come and talked to them, and what they want you to do is register to vote, and then give them money, and they'll lobby on your behalf, and when needed, you stand up and say, see, I'm here also. And that's lobby day, where they all just show up. And they've distanced themselves up to this point. And right now, the real struggle that's going on is at the county level. The intel of 2020 is that the sheriffs found out who's who in the zoo. The state police decided who's who in the zoo. And the next day, the communists continued on with their plan. And people crossed the aisle, a few people. So nothing has changed. We are heading down this freight train. Now, my Dow chart here is not up to date. It's not live. It's not. I don't know what it is today, right now. But the futures. There we go. Let's see. Did it draw me a new line? No. One day. What day are we in? 21. They're not giving me the chart. So I have no idea what today's chart is. It's up. It's 100 up. Okay. I don't like this. Where's 22? I want to see the 22. All right. Okay. I'm not getting what I want out of bar chart. I'm not going to get. So they know who's who in the zoo. Now it's a question of will Virginia Citizens Defense League take the next step? These people of all Chesterfield County, 1,500. Laster County. These are all the groups that showed up locally. All right? And of course, intel is being taken on them. But they've chosen to be wards of the state. They've registered to vote. And they're letting the communists know, yeah, I know you want to put me in a gulag, but I think we're going to fight. And they're being reasonable at this point. They've sent representatives down there. They showed up in force and said, you're not going to touch our representatives. We're going to lobby. And then they left. It was 100% successful. And the shit show, or the bad actors, Alex Jones, and I say he's a bad actor, is that he went down there to stir the pot. That was his job. VL, as soon as he hit as soon as he got inside, did his little shit show for a little while, they cut him off. And the communications was obviously being regulated. Excuse me. And it was successful, okay? The communications was successfully regulated. And VCDL said that they were in charge of all comms. So the question is, are they working with the governor? Now, like I said before this whole event, I worry that they could be a wolf putting on a sheep cloth. And they still have their PayPal account. And so, right there. And let's see. You gotta go to the About. We will go to About. Oh, it is a nonprofit. Well, it is partisan. You are partisan. Grassroots organization dedicated to advancing the fundamental right of all Virginians to keep and bear arms as guaranteed by the Second Amendment to the United States Constitution in Article 1, Section 3 of the Constitution of the Commonwealth of Virginia. Now, VCDL did a swearing-in ceremony first thing in the morning of everybody who was standing in there, and they swore to obey the commands given by the President of the United States at this point. So that you have to put that into your, check that into the box. They did a swearing-in ceremony, and so click. Let me see if I can find the speeches, and if I can, I'm going to download them. Let me see if I can get them. Lobby. I'm going to have to spend some time to find it. Did these guys get inside the fence?
I found a way to run my old computers.
I ain't gonna waste your all's time on this, but that's in the hopper now. If anybody can find the entire speech, the entire day's speech is in there, that'd be okay by me, because that matters. But they did advocate voting, and at this point they're partisan, because everybody who was in there, who went down there and got in the cage, voted for Donald Trump for the most part. There might have been a few people who did not vote for Donald Trump, but then they got in there and they all swore to obey. They all swore a military oath. They didn't swear the Commonwealth oath. See, they pretended by saying, hey, anybody have the oath of office that all these police officers and everybody else takes, and judges and the legislative body? Do anybody have that oath? Yeah, if you go back on my stream, it's in there, because I followed somebody in until his feed got cut, because they controlled the information within inside that cage. That was the zone of PSYOP, was the cage for communications control. for the most part, that's where they controlled the communications. And they controlled it very, very well. Let people get out so much and then cut them off. Anyway, the oath that they're supposed to take is in two places. The first place is in the Virginia Constitution itself, and the second part is when the code references it. It says that everybody who now is bound by the code and an official within the code is to take the oath from that is exactly the oath that's in the Virginia Constitution. Now, I'm losing my voice because they don't have that oath. It's been bastardized. And when I sued an official for not having the prescribed oath, they said to me that they would put me in a hole so deep that I would never find the bottom. And that came to me directly from family. So it's all a kayfabe to begin with. When I say when I tell you that, it's really just a shit show. So Virginia Citizens Defense League is now either is become partisan, and they're going to be county organized. But see, you can't be nonpartisan. That's the fraud that the Democrats pulled when they were investigating Trump and the Ukrainian and their allegations against him and bringing in people who were communists. We're all saying, oh, I'm not partisan because I was a communist under George Bush and I've been a communist under Obama. So that makes me nonpartisan. I was doing the work for both of them. No, you were doing the communist agenda, and you obviously worked as long as the communist agenda was brought forward. You might have done things you didn't like to do, but you were still marching slowly. And now you're no longer marching. You're turned around and you're pointing the guns at the very people who've been paying your bills. Anyway, ugh. So Virginia Citizen Defense League they've given us the line in the sand. And the line in the sand was very obvious. All the people who are wards of the state that don't like what the Democrats are doing got in a cage and said, we don't agree. And they were surrounded by the people who were going to enforce the laws. And the people who are going to enforce the laws don't care if the people who are in charge right now got into power through fraud. They don't care. And anytime you try to investigate the fraud of how they got into power, it's shut down. And right now, they're trying to give Donald Trump a Roger Stone trial. Roger Stone was not allowed to bring whatever evidence he wanted in to show that, hey, wait a minute, this is all being done as being vindictive. It's all part of a plan to destroy Donald Trump's base. You know, these are process crimes that were created. And that's what he got charged with. He got charged with a process crime. He got charged. The FBI charged Roger Stone with failure to keep your mouth shut. Yeah, failure to keep your mouth shut. You didn't have to talk to him. You could have said whatever you want on these videos, and then just said, no, I don't have to talk to you about that. Talk to the hand. No, I don't agree to work with you. I got nothing to prove to you people. Roger Stone, you didn't have anything to prove to those people, you stupid ass. You chose to be a ward of the state, and as a ward of the state, don't talk. You've got to let your lawyer do all the talking. I'm sorry you didn't trust your lawyers. You should have paid up front to the most expensive, best talker. Instead, you liked your own voice, man. You're running You're running you wanted your voice to be heard. You had a platform. Alex Jones gave it to you, man. If you notice, Alex Jones doesn't talk to investigators without his lawyers. Doesn't go to Congress, even though if Alex would have testified to Congress, he would have been Roger Stone also. So, Alex Jones, you should just thank the people who prevented you from talking to Congress. They saved your life. They saved your abilities. Now, with Alex Jones in mind, I've got one thing about High Impact Flicks. Look, everybody's like High Impact Flicks found out what it was like. He acquiesced, went through the checkpoint, got onto a prison tube, landed in Richmond, went around, photographed a whole bunch of people who would arrest him in a moment if he gave him a reason. In a way, he walked around there with a chip on his shoulder. Understandable. They have chips. He has chips. Let the chips fall where they may. So, but you've fed into the Alex Green crap. Look, can't do nothing about who's willing to stand up and do something. Everybody has the same opportunity to sit there and run your own little game. Now, VCDL is claiming to be something they are no longer, and they're no longer nonpartisan. They're very partisan. They are part of a group that has said that they're not going to comply. So everybody who is signed up with VCDL can be labeled under the red flag law. So if you have a membership with Virginia Citizen Defense League, and they're saying that they're not going to comply, and that they've taken over the counties through the sheriffs, they said that they're in the comms, and that they're not going to, they're claiming sanctuary. Your opportunity to win was when the county said that they were going to bring in insurgents that were Muslims. So you are now surrounded by insurgents who are Muslims, called sanctuary cities and counties. That's their insurgents, and they brought them in. And now you all are insurgents. So welcome to the red flag law that's coming down the pike at you. You've already anybody who is a registered voter has already said they're not mentally capable of taking care of their own affairs. See, there's only one step left, and that is to step outside the box. All the sheriffs, if you signed federal paperwork and you're getting paid through the management of each one of the counties, that's your boss. And then that guy, then the 3 officers in every county in Virginia, which the first one is the administrator, the second one is the zoning officer, and the third is the attorney, the county attorney. Those are your 3 commissars. Those are your 3 officers. Everybody better be checking, see if they have oaths of office and whether they filed the correct ones. Because I can tell you that when I went and searched whether they had the correct oath of offices throughout the counties in Virginia, there was only one that did, and that was Fairfax. So fraud was going on, and that was 15 years ago. Fraud, it was going on throughout Virginia. Fraud is still probably going on. So you have 3 commissar officers, and they have to answer to the governor and the governor's management for pay, because that's where it all rides up through. They answer to the next level, and that's the governor. And the governor decides. See, you have to understand that the money goes from county request to state request to federal request, from federal bank to state bank to deposited county bank, down to city bank, town bank, and if there was a village bank. So there you go. The money is controlled by the governor. He does not have to release the money from the state banks into the county banks. he can cut you off from the money. And he can do it the same way he took away your rights and put you in a cage. He put you in a cage, guys. Every one of you who was a police officer and that sheriff from Culpeper County willingly disarmed and got into prison and said, I don't like. They all gave up their sovereignty and stepped into a cage, into the prison. And then they banged a podium and made a speech. And then some masters got out there, looked at the police who were all encircling them, the state police. Those state police were not standing facing the Capitol. They were standing facing the cage. They were watching the people in the cage. Their back was turned. Their prone was to all the legislators who came out and smiled and looked at you people in the cage. Nodded their head. They had control of the airspace, allowed for the media to come in via one helicopter, one feed. Now there was another feed that was brought in, and it was brought in by Hispanics with a drone. Then the drone flew off. You didn't hear none about that in the news. They haven't talked about any communication breakdown, any violations of the airspace, any arrests or anything like that. There's been nothing. Zero. Ham radio, quiet, everything. Everything went on. VCDL showed up, got in a cage, and left without incident. Amazing. And the reason that there was no incident is that nobody went down there and trespassed on the other side. And it was a muster and then a retreat. Well, VCDL, now you have a choice. You either start organizing at the village levels and start projecting power from the base, or when July 1st comes, and there's no registration and roundup is inevitable. It's going to happen. And when they do the red flag law, it'll be somebody pulled over. You'll say, talk to my lawyer, to the state trooper, and the state trooper is then at that point is going to invoke the red flag law, because anybody who's not willing to talk to a state trooper when he wants to talk is obviously mentally ill. And at that point, you're going to find yourself disarmed and completely, thoroughly butt-checked. They're going to run, hopefully, sanitary gloves. But, they might be laughing and putting on gloves that would just dealt with somebody with HIV. And then they're going to shove them up your ass. And they're going to make sure your ass bleeds afterwards. They are going to start rendering you and abusing you. So Virginia Citizen Defense League, be prepared to be abused by the people who stood there and stared into the cage. They looked at every single one of you in a cage. I'm sorry you went down there and did that. It was your choice. The Lord protected everybody's life. Thank you, Lord. My heart is lifted a little bit that there was no loss of the precious gift that you've given to all of them. Everybody who showed up down there, and that's the ones that were the monkeys, and then the ones that were taking care of the monkeys. Thank you. Thank you, Lord, for protecting them all. So I want to thank everybody who showed up today for another successful broadcast on D Live, Mad World. God bless you. God bless Bayonet. And God bless the United States of America.
Prepare to defend yourselves!